Hi again, guys. This is Mr. Gagnon, and these videos are best played at 1.25 speed on YouTube. So, in the notes, they go through a very lengthy description on the period and frequency of a mass spring system. Okay, that is one where you have a mass hanging from a spring. You stretch it down, and then it goes boing, 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 goes down and up. They give you a very long-winded description, and so my job here for you is to condense this and make it a bit easier to understand. So what we're going to do, the period is the time it takes for it to go, if I start it down here, to go up and then down. Okay, so that's the period of this thing. That's how long it takes for it to go from our starting point up and then down. So that can be represented by a formula. And yes, we're actually going to be using pi here because if this actually is in very close relationship to circles. So the formula to find the period of a mass spring system, this can be found on page, I think it's page 53 of the notes, but is 2 pi times the square root of the mass and then the spring constant. So I'll put a little thing here. This is the mass in kilograms, and this here is your spring constant. Your spring constant. So, okay, the period, it depends on a couple of things. First thing is the size of the block, the mass of the block, and then also the spring constant of the spring. Okay, and you can see the relationship as the spring constant goes up, the period goes down. You can see that. So let's just relate this to frequency too. Frequency is 1 over 2 pi times the square root of the spring constant over the mass. So this is very useful when it comes to calculating the frequency of a mass spring system. And remember, frequency is how often it cycles. Okay, how often it cycles. So the frequency is very useful for flipping this equation over. Again, this is the spring constant and this is the mass. So I've just saved you about like 25 pages of nonsense notes. So don't worry so much between those middle pages there and all the derivations. We just need to come to our conclusion that okay, this is formula 1, this is formula 2.